Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, or TheFrXion12, how are you gonna call me? I don't really care. And today we are going to be taking a look at two very special tanks that are very close to my heart. That means we're gonna be taking a look at two gameplays today, the Object 260 and the T54. No, T55A, excuse me. Both of these tanks are currently in the super test and are being reassessed. What does that mean? Well, currently they are changing some of the stats around, and it looks like they're going to be buffing these vehicles quite a lot. Now, I have to be honest, we're probably not going to be looking at the entire gameplay of both of these games, but we're going to be taking a look at a little bit of the action. We're going to be taking a look at the statistics. They're going to be changing, and I will put it into the screen afterwards so you can see what will change with the tanks, specifically the armor models, which will change a little bit. And yeah, then we're going to be talking about if it is really necessary. At least we're going to be discussing it because I think it's rather important. Both of these tanks are reward tanks, right? They're the first campaign reward mission, like the Object 260 was the last tank that you could get on the first campaign. It was the hardest challenge, and the T55A was the third one and the second hardest next to the Object 260. Now, since the missions have been present in the game for about 3 or 4 years now, quite a lot of people have picked up both of these vehicles, and they're quite nice. I've enjoyed both of these vehicles quite a lot, and I haven't really played them as much as I would have wanted to, but I've played them enough to know what kind of characteristics they have, how to play them, and just to have a good time in them, right? So we're currently playing on the map Siegfried Line, and we're playing rather aggressively. Now, this is not a complete tier 10 match, quite a few tier 8s, a few tier 9s, and just 3 tier 10s on each side, so we should be doing quite fine. So what is going to be changing with the Object 260? Now, I think right here I will probably add the changes, or at least the armor changes, into the video as well, so you can see it in here too, and I will add it into the description. Now, the current vehicle will get better turret armor. We're talking about the Object 260 now. Right now, the turret armor of the gun mantlet is 250 millimeters thick, and it's going to be buffed to 350. Keep in mind, all these changes, well, are in the super test, so they will probably still readjust them. Nothing is final yet. I'm just reporting all the things. I'll put the link in the source in the source in the description down below. It will be increased to 350 millimeters. That is a 100 millimeters increase. Then, the cupola that we have on top of this vehicle, which is rather nicely angled and sloped, is currently sitting at 191 millimeter armor thickness. It will be increased to 232 millimeters. Then, the top part of the tank will get the best armor increase, and that is going to go up, at least the frontal part of the vehicle right here is going to go up to 341, where it has been previously at 199 millimeters of armor. So that is quite an increase in armor if we think about this vehicle. So what is so special about the Object 260? Well, it's basically a hybrid vehicle, the IS-7, with a very, very interesting gun that fires APCR as standard rounds and heat as premium rounds. Other than other than medium tanks at tier 10, I don't really recall any other heavy tank that has a similar kind of loadout. Usually it's AP and heat, or AP and APCR, usually not APCR and heat together. Other changes will be made with the damage. The damage per minute currently is sitting at 2,394. It is going to be increased to 2,502 DPM. The reload time will be reduced to 10.548 seconds per shot. That was 11.0 to 7 seconds previously, which will also increase the rate of fire obviously to 5.68, where it has been previously 5.441. The aim spread will also be reduced to 0.336 at 100 meters. Its aim time will be improved by quite a lot to only 2.11 seconds until your reticle will be fully aimed in. And the rotation during, the accuracy during turret rotation, during moving, will be increased. And that is very interesting to see. So this tank is going to be better at shooting on the move. It's going to be better when the turret is turning. So you're going to be aiming faster. You're going to be able to shoot more rounds. Thus, it's going to give you more damage. So DPM, everything is going to increase. At the same time, you're also going to have a better turret. So all these changes, well, they will probably be readjusted after some very heavy testing, and they will probably be introduced 1 or 2 patches from now, are very interesting because this tank, let's face it, I have enjoyed it previously a lot, and this game was just very recently played where I was still able to do quite a lot of damage. But against tier 10 vehicles, I have noticed that this vehicle does fare a bit worse in certain situations, but to be honest and to be fair, premium vehicles aren't meant to be as competitive as other tier 10 vehicles as their counterparts. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind that this is a war tank and it's not a real premium vehicle. It does have the status of a premium vehicle, but not the credit increase that all the other premium tanks get. So to keep it in mind, these changes will probably be very interesting to see once they are released in the final version of the game. Now, my personal opinion, does this vehicle need it? I haven't played it like enough to be completely certain. Against tier 10, I've noticed it does lack a little bit of the protection that other tier 10s have, especially with the new additions of those new super heavy tanks, with the Polish tech tree and the buffs that they made to other heavy vehicles. I think it's going to be fair, but right now some of these statistics, some of these changes do look rather meaty. Maybe it's too much. We'll have to see. They're gonna figure it out. I do own the tank, so I will not complain too much. Maybe it will make more people play the vehicle. So without further ado, I'd say let's move on to the T55A and see what will change with that vehicle. T55A, we're playing on Mountain Pass, and we have a very nice matchup once again. Just 3 tier 9s, quite a few tier 7s, and quite a few tier 8s. Now, this is going to be a very interesting game for us because in this matchup, we're going to be facing our very own competitor, the T54. And that is basically the same vehicle, just with a few changes, and that this vehicle actually is playing or is situated in the German tech tree because it was gifted to the GDR by the Soviet Union. And they produced it, and it was the main battle tank for quite a few years. Now, the changes with this tank will also be rather interesting because as the Object 260 had changes with its turret, this vehicle will get an upgraded or more armor on the turret as well. I will put it in the video again. You should see the armor values that will increase. And the front part of the turret will increase. Now we're going to take a look. The cupola will be increased from 149 millimeters to 159. The cheeks right here, which usually have been the weak spot on the T54 and T55, will be increased on the right to 354 and on the left also to 354, which is rather amazing. Where it was previously sitting at 276 and 267. The gun mantle will also be increased to 240 millimeters, and to be fair, if we take a look at this tank, I think it needed a bit of a buff on the turret because people usually were very, well, it was very easy to penetrate the tank. But where I would have enjoyed a buff would have been the side and front armor of this tank. If they had added a little bit of more armor to the front, to the lower plate, and maybe the upper plate, because in its current stance, it is not as competitive as the T54. It does have very similar values, but it does lack a little bit of the protection that the T54 does offer on the lower plate. It's not as beefy as the 54 is, but it does have the same gun, and thus you're still going to be able to, you know, do quite a lot of damage. You can see me firing heat right there because I'm not going to be able to engage a T54 at that angle with AP, with only 201mm of penetration. The gun will not be changed very drastically. They will improve the aim time from 2.01 second to 1.92 seconds. Same goes for the spread. The spread will be reduced, and the turret rotation, no, actually the aim spread during the turret rotation will be reduced from 5.29 to 4.41 degrees per second. Now, I think the most interesting change for me on this vehicle is going to be the increase of the engine power from 580 horsepower to 750, which will give this vehicle a better horsepower to ton ratio by 20 horsepower to ton per ton. That will make this tank accelerate a lot faster and make it more mobile. That has been kind of one of the points that has really got me annoyed with this tank, because it certainly does feel a little bit like a cheap knockoff of the T54. And if you have the T54 already, it just, you know, it doesn't really do anything very differently than the 54. It just does it a little bit worse. And now buffing this tank, I think, I'm not sure if it was really necessary, but it's nice because I think a lot of people really do enjoy this tank, and to train their German crews in their German Soviet medium tank is really, really cool, and I really do enjoy it. HP wise, it's not going to be changed. These changes, as always, are still subject to change. But I think on the 55A, they're reasonable. Maybe a little bit too overpowered with the turret armor, because some of the armor will be increased for more than 100mm. But it was needed. The turret armor needed to be adjusted a little bit. The question now is, does the turret armor of the T54 need to be adjusted as well as the T55A is going to get adjusted? Now, I think people really enjoy this tank, especially because who doesn't like a premium T54? And I think these changes will definitely be good for this vehicle. Now, that basically wraps up all the changes that are coming to the Clan Wars reward tanks, or at least these two that will be adjusted. There are no informations to the T28 HTC or the what was it called, the Stuck 4. Both of these tanks will remain the same, I think, and only these two will be adjusted accordingly. So as always, I would love to hear your guys' opinion. What do you think of the changes that are coming to the T55A and the Object 260? Do you think it's a bit overkill, or do you think it was definitely needed?